Victor and Ifunayan are now legally husband and wife. At last, not in a world of glittering lies, but in truth, pain, and love reborn. Sit tight as the remaining part of this story unfolds. If you're new to this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button for more interesting stories like this. Months later, Victor announced the good news to his wife. He had secured a new research contract in Canada, and together, as a family, they would start fresh. No more shadows of the past, a new life awaited. They departed Nigeria for Canada. The airplane touched down in Toronto, its wheels screeching across the cold runway. Snowflakes danced outside the window, a world far different from Lagos. Inside the airport, Victor held one hand of their little boy, while Ifunayan carried documents clutched tightly to her chest. Their faces glowed with hope. Ikoyi and its battles were behind them. Canada was the new chapter. At first, life seemed peaceful. Victor resumed work with an aerospace research institute, while Ifunayan enrolled in a nursing program. Their son adapted quickly, smiling at the sight of snow for the first time, laughing as he built small snowmen outside their apartment balcony. But peace is often the silence before another storm. One evening, after work, Victor returned home to find Ifunayan sitting by the dining table, face pale. A letter trembled in her hands. "What is it?" he asked, his voice steady but cautious. She slid the paper across to him. It was from Canadian Child Services. The letter said someone had reported that her child might not be safe with her. Victor froze. Who would do this? Ifunayan's voice cracked. "Victor, I think it's Ebenezer. He has people here. He once bragged about business ties in Canada." Victor's chest tightened. His mind raced. Had their past followed them across the ocean? That night, when little boy fell asleep, Victor stared out of the frosty window. The city lights glittered, but inside, his heart burned with fear. He thought they had buried their battles in Lagos. He thought Ebenezer was finished. But shadows don't die easily. And then the phone rang. Unknown number. Victor hesitated, then answered. A voice came through, smooth, mocking, familiar. "Did you really think leaving Nigeria would save you, Victor?" Victor's blood ran cold. Victor's hand tightened around the phone. Snow tapped the glass like tiny fingers. Ifunayan stood behind him, holding her breath. "Who is this?" Victor asked. A low laugh. "A man with a client who wants what belongs to him." "Say his name," Victor said. "You already know," the voice replied, and the line went dead. Victor stared at the dark screen. He opened the call log, took a screenshot, and mailed it to himself. He turned to Ifunayan. "We will document everything. No panic. Only proof." She nodded, but her eyes were wet. "What if they try to take him again?" "Then they meet me first," he said, steady as steel. Morning came grey and quiet. As Ifunayan got the boy ready for school, Victor packed his lunch and kissed his forehead. As they pulled on coats and boots, the doorbell rang. "Hi, I'm Ms. Singh from Child Services," the woman said, showing her ID. Her face was calm, kind. "This is just a check-in based on a report. We want to make sure your child is safe." Victor stepped back. "You are welcome." He looked at Ifunayan, then to their boy. "We're telling our story with truth." Inside, Ms. Singh took a seat at the dining table. She spoke softly, the way one speaks around broken glass. "Can you tell me about your journey here?" she asked. Victor explained. The threats in Lagos, the arrest, the court wedding at Ikoyi, the move to Canada. He showed copies of their marriage certificate, study permit confirmation for Ifunayan, his research contract letter, and their son's health card. He also showed the silver bracelet and the child's birthmark. Small things that carried big truths. Ms. Singh took notes. "Thank you. And, ma'am, anything you want to share?" Ifunayan's hands trembled. "I made mistakes," she said softly. "But I am a mother. He took my child in Lagos. He tried to break me. Now, someone is following us. Ms. Singh nodded. We are here to protect children, not punish families. I will schedule a home visit again next week. Please keep records of any calls, messages, or strangers you notice. After she left, their neighbor Mrs. Carr knocked. An older woman with warm eyes and a pink scarf. She spoke in a brisk whisper. I see a black SUV parked across 2 nights in a row, she said. Same man with hoodie. I know he does not belong here. She held up her phone. I took pictures. Plate number is clear. Thank you, Victor said. You just helped more than you know. Children must sleep in peace, Mrs. Kaur said, and left them with a plate of hot parathas for strength. Victor forwarded the plate photo and call screenshot to a trusted lawyer he had contacted the night before, a Nigerian Canadian named Barrister Ada Okafor. She replied within minutes. Got your evidence. If anyone filed for custody here, they'll need standing. I'll search court records. Also inform local police about the SUV paper trail matters. Victor exhaled. We're not alone, he murmured. At noon, Victor's laptop flashed a warning. Unusual sign-in attempt. Mississauga. On. He frowned. I never log in from Mississauga. He called his lead security engineer back home. Ter, I need a trace. Send headers, Ter said. And, Victor, be careful. Some of the fake companies tied to Ebenezer have Canadian branches. He used shell names to move goods. After the call, Victor sat very still. He remembered noise, money, perfume, and lies. He remembered how fast a storm can rise. That afternoon, at school pickup, the wind was harsh and bright. Victor waved as his son burst from the doors. Hat tipped over one eye. A man in a dark parka stood near the fence, his hood up, phone pressed to his ear. When the boy ran toward Victor, the man stepped forward and smiled too easily. I'm his uncle, the man told the teacher at the gate, showing a printed paper. Mummy said I should take him today. The teacher, Ms. Lopez, did not move. Her voice was firm. We only release to parents on file. She looked across the yard and saw Victor's raised hand. There is his father now. The man's smile dropped. He turned, pocketed the paper, and walked away fast. Victor ran the last steps. Sir, he called. The man slipped through the side street and vanished into white breath and cold. Ms. Lopez shook her head. We'll file an incident report. You should inform the police. Victor knelt and hugged his son tightly. Are you okay? I'm fine, Daddy. The boy said, voice small. The man smelled like strong cologne. Victor's eyes hardened. I remember that smell. Back home, the door of their mailbox was slightly open. Inside lay an envelope with no stamp. No name. He opened it. A single photograph slid out. The boy sleeping in his bed last night. The shot was through glass. The caption, clipped from a magazine, read, You are not safe anywhere. Ifunayan's knees buckled. How did they? She pressed a hand to her mouth. Victor looked at the window. He ran his fingers along the frame. On the sill, almost hidden in a shadow, sat a tiny black dot. He leaned in. A micro camera. Stuck with a square of gum, he whispered, They were here. He plucked it out and dropped it into a zip bag. He took another photo, then another, building a quiet wall of evidence. We report this tonight, he said. No fear. Only facts. Just then, the doorbell rang again. 2 uniformed officers stood with Ms. Singh. Snow dusted their shoulders. Mr. Victor, one officer said, we received your neighbor's tip and the school's report. We also received an anonymous file with a concerning claim. What claim? Victor asked. Ms. Singh's voice was gentle. The anonymous caller says the child's father is demanding access. She laid a photocopy on the table. At the top, in the matter of child's name, applicant, E. Ogundele. Ifunayan flinched. Ebenezer. Victor scanned the lines. The petition said the mother abducted the child. It claimed the child had unexplained bruises, It requested a temporary order. Victor swallowed hard. Bruises? He slipped on ice last week. We went to the clinic. He pulled a folder and placed the clinic note on top of the petition. Here, doctor's report. No head injury. Minor bump. Treated. Ms. Singh nodded. This helps. Thank you. The officer tapped the petition. The law firm address is real, but the signature looks strange. Victor turned the last page and stopped. A photo was attached. Im at his desk in the Ikoyi apartment months ago, taken through glass. Below it, a line in bold. He is capable of controlling the mother and child. Someone is building a story, Victor said, piece by piece, which means, Ms. Singh replied, you need to be 5 steps ahead. Victor raised his chin. We will be. That night, the wind howled. The boys slept between Victor and Ifunayan. Very early in the morning, Victor sat at the dining table with his laptop, the micro camera, and a cup of tea gone cold. He typed a long email to Barrister Ada, attaching the camera photos, the envelope photo, the school incident report, and the call log. He added the neighbor's plate photo and the petition copy. He wrote one line at the end. I will not run. I will fight within the law. Minutes later, Ada called. Good. Tomorrow, we file an emergency notice with the court. Threat. Surveillance. Attempted pickup. We'll also report this petition if it's forged. I'll ask the court for a no-contact order and a do-not-release flag at the school. What if the petition is real? Victor asked quietly. Then we face it head-on, Ada said. Truth is our strongest tool. After the call, Victor sat in the dark and listened to his family breathe. The city hummed under snow. He closed his eyes and saw the boy's tiny wrist. The little wing. He remembered the promise he once drew on paper. He would keep it. At dawn, a text arrived from Tari in Lagos. Traced your strange login. Same device used to ping your old Ikoyi Wi-Fi last year. The name attached to the device once signed into a company called Zion North Logistics. Guess who's on their board? Ogundele's mother. Victor read the message twice. Old shadows had long arms. The buzzer sounded. He opened the door to find a courier with a thick envelope. Return address. Amadi. Co-barristers. Toronto. Inside, clean, official copies of the same custody petition. This time with a raised seal. A sticky note on top. Your appearance is required. Failure to attend may result in temporary orders. Victor felt the weight of the paper. Behind him, small footsteps patted across the floor. The little boy peered around his leg. Daddy? Victor smiled and lifted him up. We're going to school, champ. And after school, we're going to meet a very smart auntie lawyer. The boy nodded, small face serious. Will she help us fly? Victor kissed his forehead. Yes, she will help us fly. He set the child down, turned the envelope over, and froze. Tucked inside the back flap was a small, scratched USB. No label. No note. He held it to the light. The metal edge glinted like a thin blade. He looked at Ifunayan. They sent a drive. Her fingers tightened. Do we open it? Victor glanced at the clock, then at the window, where the world looked white and quiet. He slid the USB into a separate, air-gapped laptop he used only for testing. The screen blinked. A single file appeared. When he finally played the video, the surprise was not what he expected. It wasn't Ebenezer speaking. It was a shaky recording of a woman, an insider from Zion North Logistics, her face hidden in shadow. I don't have much time, she whispered. The custody petition is fake. Ebenezer bribed a junior staffer to file it. He's trying to create grounds to drag your family into court and weaken you. I've seen the accounts. He pays men to follow your wife and child. He even ordered surveillance inside your home. Be careful. Protect the boy. This is the truth I can give before they silence me. The screen went black. Victor sat stunned. Ifunayan covered her mouth, tears of relief and fear mingling. They had proof that Ebenezer's claws reached across borders, but also proof that the lies could be broken. 2 weeks later, the Toronto courthouse became their battleground. Ebenezer's lawyers arrived polished, presenting the custody petition with smooth voices. But barrister Ada Okafor rose with quiet fire. "My lords," she began, "this case is built on shadows. The child in question is safe, loved, and documented. Here are the clinic reports, school files, and child services evaluations. And here," she lifted a tablet, "is a sworn affidavit with video evidence that the petition is a fabrication sponsored by Mr. Ebenezer Ogundele." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward, watching the hidden woman's testimony. "Until further notice," the judge declared, "this petition is struck out as baseless. Any further harassment toward this family will be treated as criminal." Ifunayan broke down in Victor's arms. Their boy clutched both parents tightly, asking in his small voice, "Does this mean nobody will take me away again?" Victor bent low, kissing his forehead. "Nobody, never again." For the first time since leaving Lagos, peace returned to their breaths. Weeks later, life began to soften. Victor worked late in his research lab, and Ifunayan poured herself into her nursing classes. But then, one morning, she stood at the sink, rinsing dishes, and her vision blurred. She gripped the counter, nausea rushing over her like waves. Victor rushed to her side. "What's wrong?" I don't know," she whispered, hand pressed to her stomach. At the clinic, the doctor smiled knowingly after running tests. "Congratulations," he said. "You're pregnant." Victor froze. Ifunayan gasped, covering her face with both hands. Then the tears came soft, trembling tears of joy. "Pregnant?" Victor repeated, stunned. He laughed, shaking his head, as though he couldn't believe it. "God, after everything you bless us like this?" He held her hand tight. "You're giving me a chance to be a father. This time, we will walk every step together." Months later, Ifunayan lay on the hospital bed, gel cold on her belly, Victor standing beside her. The ultrasound screen flickered with shades of black and white. The doctor narrowed his eyes, then chuckled. "Mr. and Mrs. Anderson," he said, "you're not just expecting one child." Victor and Ifunayan exchanged startled looks. "You're expecting 3. Triplets." For a moment, the world went silent. Ifunayan gasped, squeezing Victor's hand so hard his knuckles whitened. He laughed nervously, then broke into tears. "3?" he whispered. "3 at once?" The doctor nodded with a smile. "Healthy heartbeats. You are blessed beyond measure." Ifunayan began to sob, covering her face as joy and fear clashed in her chest. "Victor, after all the pain, God has given us more than we dreamed." Victor leaned down, pressing his forehead against hers. "We asked for peace. He gave us abundance. We'll protect them with everything we have." Their son peeked over the edge of the bed, wide-eyed. "Mama, does this mean I'll have 3 brothers or sisters?" Yes, baby," Ifunayan whispered, stroking his cheek. "You'll never be alone again." That night, back in their apartment, Victor stared out at the snowy Toronto skyline with the little boy asleep on the couch and Ifunayan resting gently in bed. For the first time in years, he felt the true weight of hope. Ebenezer's shadows had tried to follow them across oceans, but life had answered with light stronger than the darkness. He turned to Ifunayan, who looked peaceful despite her tiredness. "We're going to need a bigger home," he said softly, smiling. She laughed weakly. "And a bigger car," they both laughed, the sound carrying through the walls like music after a long silence. But as they held each other close, neither knew that while joy had entered their lives, the storm had not fully passed. Old enemies do not disappear, they wait. The joy of the triplets' news still echoed in their apartment. But the chilling message on Victor's phone tore a hole in their peace. "Congratulations on the triplets, but tell me, how safe do you think they'll be?" Victor showed the text to barrister Ada the next morning. Her face grew dark. "This is beyond a custody battle. This is intimidation across borders. We'll need police surveillance around your home. And Victor, don't underestimate this man. He won't stop until he's crushed. Or you are. Days later, strange incidents began. Their apartment door was found ajar, though Victor was sure he'd locked it. Ifunayan woke one morning to see footprints in the fresh snow outside their window, leading straight to the wall beneath the children's room. Then came the hospital scare. At a routine checkup, the nurse found that Ifunayan's file had been tampered, with her blood type changed, allergies altered. The doctor shook his head. If we hadn't caught this, the wrong medication could have endangered the babies. Victor's blood ran cold. Ebenezer's reach was deeper than they thought. That night, Victor sat in the dark living room, fists clenched. "If he wants a war," he whispered, "then I will give him one." But in the silence that followed, Ifunayan placed her trembling hand on his. "Promise me, Victor. Promise me you won't lose yourself in fighting him. We've come too far. The children need a father, not a soldier." Victor nodded, though his eyes burned with unspoken rage. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the Toronto night. The war between past shadows and their fragile future was reaching its breaking point. The frost on the Toronto windows glowed like silver lace, but inside Victor's apartment, the air was heavy with fear. The message about the triplets had pierced them to the core, yet it wasn't fear that rose in Victor, it was resolve. For years, he had fought to protect Ifunayan, her son, and their fragile hope for a new life. Now, with 3 more lives growing inside her, he knew there could be no turning back. "We must end this," he whispered into the silence. "No running, no hiding, this ends here." The next morning, Victor met with barrister Ada Okafor and 2 officers from the Canadian police. He handed them the USB drive, the anonymous texts, the altered hospital files, and the photographs of footprints in the snow. Ada's voice was firm. "This is organized harassment. With your evidence, we can file a restraining order and request international cooperation." Ebenezer's hand is long, but his arrogance leaves trails. The officer nodded. "Interpol has been monitoring cross-border fraud cases linked to shell companies. Ebenezer's name has appeared before. With this, we can escalate." Victor exhaled deeply. The law was moving, but law was slow. Shadows didn't wait. That evening, Victor returned home to find Ifunayan on the couch with her son curled beside her. She looked pale but strong. "Victor," she said softly, "I used to think beauty was my crown, that it was all I had. But it destroyed me. Now I see strength, faith, and truth are the crowns God gave me. Ebenezer tried to break me. He took my pride, my happiness, even my child. But thank God he didn't take my soul. And I will not let him take these babies." Victor knelt before her, pressing his forehead against her belly. "We will shield you, love, together." The little boy's son stirred, his small hand resting on her stomach. "Mama, don't worry. I'll protect my brothers and sisters too." Tears filled Ifunayan's eyes. "You already are, my boy." Weeks later, Ada called with urgency. "Victor, listen carefully. A sting operation is in motion. Ebenezer's men are funneling money through Zion North Logistics. We've arranged a meeting with one of their Canadian contacts. I need you there but protected. This could finish him." Victor hesitated. "What if it's a setup?" "It is," Ada replied. "But this time, the setup is ours." That night, in a warehouse lit by harsh white lamps, Ebenezer's associate arrived. Victor stood behind tinted glass, watching. The associate opened the case, stacks of counterfeit documents, including a forged Canadian custody order. The officer stepped forward. "You're under arrest." The man froze, stammering. Ebenezer. Ebenezer ordered everything. It was all recorded. The name that had stalked Victor from Lagos to Toronto was now ink on an international arrest warrant. News traveled fast. In Lagos, Ebenezer tried to flee, but Interpol worked with Nigerian authorities to corner him. His empire crumbled, accounts frozen, men scattered. but victory came with fear. Ifunayan's pregnancy was delicate. One night, barely a month before her due date, she collapsed in the kitchen, clutching her stomach. "Victor," she gasped, sweat rolling down her face. He rushed her to the hospital, panic clawing at his chest. Machines beeped, nurses swarmed, and doctors moved quickly. "It's early labor," the doctor said. "We'll do everything to keep mother and babies safe." Victor gripped her hand. "You are stronger than this storm, love. We came this far. We won't stop now." Ifunayan managed a weak smile. "Promise me, Victor. Promise me you'll raise them to know truth, not fear." His voice broke. "I promise, with everything I am." Hours stretched like years. Then, at dawn, the cries began. One baby, then another, and another. 3 fragile, perfect lives announced their arrival with voices louder than shadows. Nurses smiled as they swaddled the newborns and placed them gently in Ifunayan's arms. Victor stood speechless, tears streaming down his face. He touched their tiny fingers one by one, whispering, "You are the future." Ifunayan looked at him, exhausted but radiant. "We should name them after what God has given us." She whispered the names through trembling lips. "Chimdima, my God is good. Ezine, good mother. And Lotana, remember the father." Their first son leaned over the hospital bed, eyes wide with wonder. "Mama, I'll help you take care of them. I'm a big brother now." Victor kissed his head. "You are more than a brother, you are their shield." Weeks later, news arrived. Ebenezer had been arrested at Murtala Muhammad Airport, trying to board a private jet. His mother, once untouchable, was under investigation for fraud. Their power was gone. Victor and Ifunayan stood on the balcony of their new home, watching the Toronto skyline glow against the night. The triplets slept peacefully inside, their son humming softly by the crib. "Do you realize," Ifunayan said, leaning into Victor's chest, "that every step of pain led us here? If I had not fallen, I wouldn't know how high love can lift me." Victor wrapped his arms around her. "And if I had not been broken, I wouldn't know how strong God can rebuild a man." Together, we are living proof that no darkness lasts forever. Kindly let me know the city you're watching from. If this story touches your heart, do well to hit like button, share to loved ones, and let me know what you learnt from this story. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.